Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. And today we've got another special video for you. This one is not going to be the usual thing that we do, which is ladder decks, the best ways to climb. This is the best way to climb in Deadpool's Diner, the best way to get King Eitri? Eitri? Whatever, that card. We have the best decks for Deadpool's Diner and some major tips for you for the mode here today. We're going to begin with this great budget deck. This budget deck is Ika's Scream update. This has absolutely been crushing Deadpool Diner, and it only needs one high series car. Scream has, along with obviously Arishem, become the low budget option for Marvel Snap. This is a tier 1 deck that absolutely competes at the highest levels of the game while also being dominant in Deadpool's Diner and needing very little of the player. You can find the creator of this deck at twitch.tv/Ika_MTS. Ika's a brilliant deck builder. He's featured on the channel all the time and has created multiple meta decks. Again, the only high series card thing you need here is Scream. Hydra Bob can be Silk or Jeff for this list. I know those are other high series stuff, but honest to God, kind of pick your poison. Choose a card that makes sense to you that has reasonable power at 1 or 2 cost. You can do worse than, for example, a Medusa here. This video will have the following. We are beginning right now with the best budget deck for Deadpool's Diner. Then we've got a bunch of tips, about 2 pages of tips from the great Lauren Whatevs. Then we've got the best deck for the Diner, at least in my opinion. The best counter deck for what the meta is currently. And then we've got the deck that is performing the best at top tables. So that's what we're going to look at throughout this video. Let's begin with this list, which is 67% win rate in 260 games, which is a huge win rate in a ton of games. This is absolutely legit. Turn 1, you want Kingpin over Bob as a general rule. You might want Bob early. Bob does not move at the auto snaps. When the player snaps, he does move. Turn 2, you want Scream over Craven. Scream is absolutely the key card here. Glenn Jones, the lead designer at Marvel Snap, was on our podcast about 3 weeks ago and said Scream had similar stats on play to Mr. Negative on play. So that's a good example for why Scream is so powerful. Consider running early and often when you don't see Scream, but if you're seeing Scream, you can really compete and steal some big cube games. Turn 3, you want Polaris or Spidey. Nice and simple. There's also like just a Bob and 2-drop or Kingpin and 2-drop perfectly fine here. Turn 4, Polaris or Spidey with Miles or another one, i.e. if you move to 1 and Miles costs 1, you're fine here. If you play Bob or Kingpin with Polaris or Spidey, you're good. If not, Stegron is fine. Turn 5, you want Stegron or Shang with Miles or a 1-drop, or you want to drop Arrow. And then turn 6 is either Magento, it's a Magneto, or Juggernaut and Shang with whatever's left in your hand. Sometimes you've just got enough power in one lane that Juggernaut is able to complete another lane with low power. Sometimes you're up a ton in one lane and you know they're going to try and drop like 20 power in another, and you can just Shang that away and steal that victory that way as well. There's a lot to like about this list. Again, this is the single best budget deck for Deadpool's Diner. I looked through all the different levels of Deadpool's Diner, looked through all the stats. This is the least investment in terms of Series 4 and 5 cards, in terms of really explosive win rate at a really high play rate that you can do in Deadpool's Diner. So if you are a budget player, if you are looking for a really good cheap investment, I think Scream is where to go. Scream's also a really new card, so you're relatively safe from series drops. I would be shocked if Scream series dropped. So if you want to go get Scream, you have a deck that can complete Deadpool's Diner. Before we go further with the next set of stuff with the tips, I'm going to ask you to hit that sub button if you're willing to, as we try to hit 16,000 subs before the end of 2024. We're something like 600 away, so your sub would go a long way to getting us there. If you're willing, please show that support. In return, we will give you 7 days a week of Marvel Snap videos with the best decks from the best players that you can't find anywhere else. We give you exclusive Marvel Snap content, unlike anyone else, if you are willing. In addition, a like and comment helps show that YouTube algorithm who's boss and lets us be shown to more people, and helps you enter to win a Surtur Season Pass. We are giving away our last Surtur Season Pass on this video. Tomorrow, we are going to start kicking off our next season, our Galactus Season Pass giveaway. So if you're interested in that, please make sure you're subbed. Later this video, I'm going to ask you to comment. As long as you're subbed, you leave that comment, you are entered to win our very last Surtur. All right, Deadpool's Diner tips. We've got Lauren Whatevs of Marvel Snap Zone and Snap on This, my favorite Marvel Snap podcast, to thank for these tips. She is the queen of Marvel Snap math, queen of Marvel Snap, but the queen of Marvel Snap math especially, as we're about to be joined by my cat, who has decided that the middle of this video is the time to say hello. So first, the Bubs and Refresh timer at the top left of the screen. You won't always immediately know what your max bubs are, but if you click it, it's going to show you. That's a major UI update that didn't work, as far as I'm aware, last Deadpool's Diner. But if you want to see what your max bubs are, you can click the top left and it will let you know. It'll let you know what you refresh to. You can have more than what you refresh to, right? Because you have to hit those bub mart spots for it to refresh up to your max. So it's worth keeping an eye on that number. The cost to enter a plate is 3 snaps, but there are up to 5 snaps per game. So that means you can if you enter the top table, you're not going to be like, they can sort of bully you out. Think poker when you don't have enough money to play at the high roller table. So be careful with that. Never ever, oop, hello kitty. Never ever retreat if you are at max bubs. If you're at max bubs, you must stay because you're going to reset to 0 no matter what. At that point, even if it's a long shot, even if you're just preying on like a 1 in 8, 1 in 12 gambit, you stay and hope for the best. Generally speaking, you want to play 2 tables down from your max, or you want to play at a table where you have 4 times the buy-in. We'll explain more on that on the next one, but that is the big key. If you get one thing from this, it's play 2 tables down from your max and play at a table where you have 4 times the buy-in. Unless you're done for the day. If you're done for the day and your refresh, because this is really important, and your refresh is not significantly less than you have right now, you probably want to go all in before you don't play for 8 hours, because when you come back in 8 hours, you will be able to just have all your bubs anyway. So you might as well just try and double it, right? Like try and double it for where you are, and then you can always stop at that point anyway, now way higher than you would otherwise be. Each hour is 1/8 of your bubs, so you refill fully every 8 hours, which is worth considering. That's what I've been calling a day. A Marvel Snap day, a refresh cycle, name it what you want. Next up, still from Lauren Whatevs, this is the exact same skill as ranked. Don't consider this different from ranked climbing ranked ladder, in particular ranked ladder on your way to infinite. This is very, very similar. Much like ranked ladder, you want to retreat early and often. Losing 1 cube is fine. You are trying to make it up on the big cubes, and here more so than usual, because 5 snap games are worth 32 frickin' times a 0 snap game. So if you get out early, you've lost, I mean, frickin' like next to nothing compared to if you let this go, if you let multiple snaps go. If you're not seeing your stuff, just run. That's part of why that Scream deck we just talked about is so strong. If you see Scream, you can stay knowing you're extremely favored, knowing you're like damn near Mr. Negative level favored versus your opponent. And if they start snapping you and you don't see your stuff, you just immediately run. That's really, really good for this kind of mode. The goal is to never run out of bubs until you're done for the day, unless your balance is bigger than your refill. We talked about that earlier. Just reiterating it because it's so freaking important. If you play 1 to 2 tables down, your wins are basically the same as playing at a higher table, right? Because you can only double your own max number or go up from your max number, but the losses are going to hurt way less and allow you to continue playing. Don't snap or stay in on 5 snaps unless you're absolutely sure. If you're putting it to 5 or you're willing to stay on a 5, you should be like, oh my god, I've got this guaranteed. There's nothing they can do to stop me. Cool. Those are the Deadpool Diner tips. Thank you again to Lauren Whatevs. Please go check the snap on this podcast. You will not regret it. It is absolutely delightful. Lauren, Ree, and Ben do an amazing job. All right, next up we have the great, the wonderful Ava Zord. Ava is one of our favorite people in the community, a Brazilian player who absolutely comes up with great decks. This deck has been floating around for a few weeks. I hadn't featured it until now because, well, honestly, by the time it started to put up real numbers, the Malekith version was out there and it was Malekith week, so that made more sense. But this version is really, really strong and has a 68% win rate in a serious 120 games. That's like a real number. There is a Malekith version, which we featured multiple times if you're willing to check that out. If you don't have Frigga but do have Malekith, you're sort of cutting Scorpion and adding Quicksilver for that version. All right, so you can find Ava at twitch.tv/Avazord. He does stream in Portuguese, but also in English. If you speak to him in English, he's perfectly fluent. This deck needs Ajax, Anti-Venom, Wiccan, US Agent, and Man-Thing. That's a reasonably expensive deck, but I do think this is the best deck in the mode, and the reason for that is largely Frigga. Wiccan and Frigga both give you such high rolls. If you get Wiccan, obviously you're extraordinarily favored, unless your opponent has Luke. If you get Frigga if you get Frigga, you're obviously extremely favored into multiple matchups. You can Frigga off your Man-Thing, you can Frigga off your US Agent, you can Frigga off your Cassandra Nova, and pull off tons and tons and tons of power. So that's what you're looking to do. Frigging off Hydra Bob is not terrible. I wrote anti-venom here like an absolute moron. Excuse me for that. Anti-venom would fit wonderfully here, but now you're looking for Zabu over Sable or Bob. I've got like 15 versions of this build, and I alternate between them a lot. Sorry. All right, so we've got Sable or Bob for Iceman, Psylocke, or Kate Bishop. Frigga can be Malekith. Valentina can be Kate Bishop or Psylocke. And this has a 68% win rate in 120 freaking games. So Ava's on a huge roll. He has my current favorite Fenris deck, along with that one we showed 2 days ago, I believe, 3 days ago, something like that, from Derek. Those are my two most successful decks with Fenris Wolf. Ava's got a ridiculously good Fenris Wolf that we'll talk about tomorrow. So turn 1, you want Sable over Bob. Turn 2, Scorpion over Valentine over US Agent. Turn 3, Frigga if Agent. Luke regularly or cast is fine. Turn 4 is Wiccan if you run anti-venom, but it's Wiccan or Man Thing. And then turn 5, you play a card and Frigga it, ideally. Or you can just drop Ajax. You can Hazmat and Ajax if you have Luke out. If they've got a wide board, and a lot of people are running wide boards, giving -2 to their whole board by double Hazmatting is way stronger than it seems. And then turn 6, Hazmat and stuff, Man Thing, US Agent, cheap cards. And if you've got Anti-Venom in it, throw an Anti-Venom card in. My version runs Anti-Venom. Sorry. The one with the great stats is Ava's that doesn't run Anti-Venom, but my version does run Anti-Venom and that's been my most successful deck in this mode so far. We're going to talk about a big old counter deck after this, but if you're running into 10 stuff left and right, the Scorpion here, the Cassandra Nova here, absolutely rock those. And then both Ajax and Cassandra Nova give you a lot of play into the Thanos and Arishem that are all over the meta in this mode. So our season pass card question, if you're looking to win a season passes, how are you enjoying Diner this time? Do you like Deadpool's Diner? Do you think the game mode is fun? Is your opinion changed from July? If you played the July version, how far are you in your King Eitri journey? I'm going to be honest, I haven't enjoyed it as much as I did last time. Not that I loved it last time, but I really haven't enjoyed it. I don't know why. I'm just really not having as much of a good time with it. It feels too similar to just playing ladder, and I'd rather just play ladder. I think ladder is more fun. So that's where I am for this mode, but you let me know what you think. All right, the counter deck. This deck we've seen for frickin' ages. There are different versions of this that we've seen all over the place. This version says half the meta seems to be Thanos Arishem or Thanos Arishem, and this deck absolutely rolls that. It just face slams it. It is one of the easiest matchups you can have, in fact, with this very deck, thanks to Darkhawk and Cassandra Nova, but also thanks to stuff like Cosmo and Iron Man and Juggernaut, giving you a million ways to win those matchups. So this is sort of now the standard. This is just like a well-known deck. Alliance Lowell started making the Agent Venom into Darkhawk stuff last season, so we're going to credit Lowell again. I don't really know if it's still Lowell, but who cares? You need Darkhawk, Agent Venom, and Cassandra Nova for this. Grandmaster can be Thena, but then Bast wants to be Kitty. Kate can also be Angela or Thena/Kitty, and this version has a 74% win rate in 78 games. The Thena Kitty version has a 67% win rate in 220 games. This is a very powerful deck into the meta, but it absolutely just face slams Arishem. If you see Arishem, just start snapping right away. Let them run, take your free bubs. All right, so if you're sick of Thanos and Arishem, please play this. Bast if you have a bunch of zeros in hand. If we have our Cassandra Novas, if we have our Iron Mans, our Mystiques in hand, then we drop Bast. We drop Korg if not. Turn 2 is Agent Venom over Kate. Turn 3, Cassandra Nova over 2+1. If you are playing against Arishem, you can feel free to hold that Cassandra Nova for a while, unless you already have your Cosmo. Turn 4 is Rockslide. You can also, again, Cassandra. If you're playing against Arishem or Thanos, at this point, you can drop a Cosmo there. Turn 5, Darkhawk or Iron Man. Turn 6, Mystique and Juggernaut or Cosmo. Mystique and Cassandra Nova is fine here as well. This one's really simple. If you're looking to just counter the meta and roll people, this is the deck to play. It is one of the simplest things in Marvel Snap. It's not too expensive. It's insanely freaking strong. If you are looking for a bundle, the Master of Curiosities bundle is an okay buy. Generally speaking, and we're dealing with smaller percentages when we're talking about gold bundles, we're looking for about 7 or 8% higher here. Also, if you want, these bundles usually come with multiple resources. This one comes with Spotlight Keys. Spotlight Keys are nice, right? But I find credits more valuable because more credits, enough credits to get Spotlight Keys, gives you all the stuff that you get from credits along the way, that being extra credits, extra boosters, etc., extra variants, whereas the keys just give you a chance to open for a card. Now, if there's new cards you want, this is every bit as good as getting tokens, but if the cards you want right now aren't appearing, like Darkhawk Modocs not appearing, right? Aren't appearing in spotlights right now, then spotlight keys have limited use. So if you're looking for spotlight keys because you're running short and you want key cards, like let's say you must have gore, then this is a good buy. But outside of those situations, I think I would wait for a later gold bundle at the hefty price of 6,500 gold. All right, the Stream Team. If you'd like to see some gameplay from these decks, please check out the Stream Team. Today is Sunday, so the great Obihaved will be playing these decks at 1 p.m. Eastern. FaThorNewman and the Pirate King Tuccrr will both have YouTube videos up of previous days' decks if you're interested in checking out their YouTubes. Our final deck of the day is, I don't actually know who made these two updates. This is a discard deck I've been championing for a while, but this deck is absolutely rocks. It has been changed to add Strong Guy and Proxima Midnight in exchange for Swarm and Lady Sif. If you don't have Proxima, feel free to run it the other way. It's fine. I've been running this in Deadpool's Diner just fine. This list absolutely kicks ass. Discard with Malekith was, as far as I'm aware, taken to the top of the meta. BBAK didn't play for a while, came back and climbed from outside of the top 100 to top 10 with Malekith discard list. The list has been further refined since then to add Strong Guy and Malekith, and this is the best win rate deck at high levels of Deadpool's Diner. So you can find BBAK at twitter.com/BBAKSnap. You need MODOK, and I think you may need Proxima. You can maybe cut Proxima here, but you 1,000% need MODOK. Scorn can be Helicarrier. It turns out that Helicarrier win rate is perfectly fine for this list. Grandmaster Malekith can be Swarm, Lady Sif. If you added Helicarrier, Collector makes sense here as well. I think you can try Lady Sif for Proxima without losing too very much. All right, so this is the best at the high tables in this mode. At the top Turducken, this is the highest win rate deck, and it is the second highest win rate deck at the second highest table, which I believe is Pumpkin Pie. Turn 1, you want a Blade if Blade hits a discard target. Turn 2, Morbius is your key play. You almost always Morbius, unless you've got like an amazingly powered Blade type thing to do over Colleen Wing. Turn 3 is you do Colleen for Scorn, or you can drop Gambit or Strong Guy. Strong Guy is just a nice safe play. Turn 4, Dracula over Malekith. Turn 5, you can MODOK if you now just have like chaff in your hand and you have Morbius out and Dracula out. If not, you can drop Dracula or Malekith. Malekith hitting Gambit is often really, really strong, so keep an eye out for that. Or you can go Gambit and Grandmaster here if your hand is kind of junky. And then turn 6 is MODOK and Scorn at that point. Or you can, if you top deck Dracula, heaven, you can do Dracula and a 1 or 2, or Apocalypse. It can just get cold played. Sometimes you cold play Apocalypse and then let Scorn get discarded, and that ends up being enough if you can tell they're avoiding that Dracula lane. Lovely. Insanely strong list. Go play it. This is one of the best things to be doing. Discard is a tier 1 deck. If you haven't checked yesterday's podcast, we had Sizer, the best player in Marvel Snap, and Den, the head writer for Marvel Snap Zone on, and we ranked the top 10 decks in Marvel Snap, and this finished in the top 10 decks in Marvel Snap currently. This is the best discard has ever been. Malekith is a huge upgrade to this list. We have a Patreon. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. Let's say thank you to a bunch of people, except I didn't copy it here. Oh no, it's here. It's just one slide later. Haha. All right, thank you to Abigail Kislet, Mandatory Burnout, Irregardless, David G. Wingfield, Dirty Casual, Danton, Always Kind, LAB, FaThorNewman, who you should check out on YouTube and Twitch, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., I Am Frostman, J. Navalin, Thinking Poker, Primed Ryan, Ryan Burke, and Ryan Wood. It's Ryan Town. Next up, we got K-Town, Kertixley and Koire, Black Dahlia, Purpose, and Goatseeker, our alliance leaders. Hallowed, Quid Pro Joe, and Snap Decisions Joe. Thank you so much for joining us, Snap Decisions Joe. Joe has a podcast called Snap Decisions, which is freaking daily. You got to check it out. Fat Nick, Mr. Kerfuffle, who recently took 8 cubes from me, so I'm mad at him. Ginger Prime, hey Ginge. Philip Rakovich, hey Ratko. Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone. Rob Silverman, The Bizza. Black Jeebus 23, X-Force V, and Skippy G. Jessica Gamble, hey Jess. Also, Skippy, check your email. Tommy Nyquist, winner of Snap League Season 1. King of Bros, Bruh, The Great Kazoo. Kevsey Hoda, and Luna Chris. Corwin, John Q, and Jim McHugh, Q-Town. Clam, and Colonel Forbin. 8th, Frickin' Sage, Mod Supreme Models, The Best Osborne Green Goblin, Unibot, Flan, 56, Stephen, Brian Coffin, Tristan H. Martin, and Jason B. Real Name Town, The Fuzzy Dom, Spectrumix, Hoot, the only Med H we need, DJ Mikey Hijinks, no freaking flex, Ocularis, Mr. Cat Walks By, Craig Sterry, BG, Zodrex, the King of Canada, Denman Falcon, Jonesy, the Great, Two Ties, our friend and yours, Snap on, Lauren Whatevs, the Pirate King Tuccrr, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for, it's not question of the day, we went the wrong way. That's it. Check out the podcast. It's linked right there if you want to hear an extensive conversation about what the best decks in Marvel Snap are. And don't forget to check what the current #1 deck on Marvel Snap is in that other link. And I'll see you tomorrow for 3 more decks at least. Peace.